You're looking handsome, Tiny. You're looking handsome. Hey, Flopsy girl. I hear you. Can you turn around and say hi? Okay, Tiny. Tiny, you're on my footstool. You better not go to the bathroom on that. And no talking back. Come on now. Show some respect, Tiny. Okay, enough of that. Showing off a little bit. Can you say hey to everybody? Say hi. Say hey, Flopsy. Look at her feet flopping around, y'all. Say hey, Flopsy. I see. What'd you find? Oh, don't eat a piece of wood. You got a piece of wood? Hey, girl. So pretty. All right, let's go look at Paddles. Oh. Hey, Tiny. Hey, buddy. You're close up and personal. Don't you come after me. Hey. Y'all, he's right next to me. Hey, buddy. What are you doing? You want to learn to eat at the kitchen window too with Pigeon and Honeybell and Big Red? Y'all, there's Honeybell. Hey, Honeybell. Honeybell. Y'all see she's puffed up. She's cold. Hey, baby girl. All right, Tiny. Paddles. Hey, Paddles. Look at his big old feet, y'all. Hey, Paddles. Hey, buddy. Oh my, oh, did y'all see that? Look, she came to see me. Oh, you are like Pigeon. Hey, Honeybell. Oh my goodness. What a beautiful little girl. Say hi. Say it. Come on, you sound like Pigeon. Say it. Show the people. Show the people, Honeybell. Hey. You are beautiful. You are something else, and I'm so glad to have you in the family. Just love you so much. You know what? Pigeon paved a way for you in my heart because y'all are so similar. Sweet, sweet girls. Paddles. Paddles, hey. Are you a sweet boy? Look, y'all, he's doing the pecking thing, like he's showing the girl something, and there's only one hen up there, and she's way over there. She's not even paying him any mind. Paddles. Come on, give us a crow. Hey. Oh, he's been crowing all this time until I walked over here, and now he's gonna play quiet mouse. You're not fooling anybody, Paddles. You're not fooling anybody. All right? As soon as I take this camera off of him, he's gonna start crowing again. I just love you guys. Look at her. She's just the cutest little thing. She's just like Paddles. She's just the female and a little bit less decorated, but just so gorgeous. Sweet, sweet temperament, y'all. That's a booted bantam. Look at her feet. She looks like she's dressed up for fall. Look at that. Look at those shoes. You got on your fancy footwear? You're pretty too, Tiny. You're pretty too. Look at your tail. Your tail is pretty, yeah. Hey y'all, my name is Lolly, and it's been over a week since I've made a video, and it's not because I've been sick, it's because my camera has been sick. Let's just say there were some technical difficulties due to some droppage that was going on. Then when I took it in to get fixed, they didn't have the parts, things had to be shipped off, I had to wait for things to come in. So it's been one big kerfuffle waiting to use this camera again, but I'm back in business and I'm ready to go. Now I've got a lot to talk about. It has been a crazy week. week. And I've got some news to share with you at the end of the video. I kind of surprised myself, so it may surprise some of you guys that have been watching my videos too, but more to come on that. Now today, I want to talk about roosters. So if you've already got chickens or you're thinking about getting chickens, you may wonder if you should have a rooster. So I'm going to talk about everything from my standpoint. I do not consider myself an expert, you guys. The only thing that I am an authority on is my own experience. And so I've hatched some of them on my own property, and some of them I got at the store by accident. But I will say that I never planned on having any roosters on purpose. And a very common question that people ask is, do you need a rooster to have eggs? And the answer is absolutely not. You only need to have a rooster if you want to hatch your own little babies. Now in total, I've had 13 roosters, and oh my goodness, here comes Tiny as I'm talking. Let me show you. Hey Tiny, come on baby. Y'all know who he reminds me of is Pigeon. And I'm hoping that he doesn't start attacking me one day, but every time I talk, he starts coming up to me just like Rooster and Runner used to do, which was a problem whenever I got the camera out. So let me show y'all Tiny. Y'all look at this. I got the camera off of the tripod, turned it around, and he was gone. He's all big stuff, and then he ran as fast as he could. Okay, so that excitement was short-lived, but he is super cute. So like I was saying, I've never had roosters on purpose. Every single one of them was an accident, and I think I hatched about 9 of them on my own here on this property by accident, trying to get myself some more hens that were Easter eggers that would lay blue eggs. Okay, so now we've got Paddles and Tiny that are both crowing. Y'all, there is something about talking to the camera that makes the roos go bonkers. Now, the reason that I kept the roos that I had was just because I love creatures and I like to give them all a chance. I enjoy them. And y'all, I've said many times that I think roos are just like walking ornaments. They are absolutely beautiful. Now, I'm not saying every rooster that I've seen is that beautiful. I might be a little bit biased to my rooster kids because they have been Easter egger mixes for the most part, and I've had some beautiful red ones as well. But the Easter egger mixes are just hands down gorgeous. I've had yellow, I've had white, I've had some with green and blue and brown and red and just all sorts of colors. And when Rooster and Runner were breeding with my Australorps, my sex lynx, or whatever, I never knew what I was going to get. Oh, and they breeded with Belle too, who was my one Easter egger that laid blue eggs. So I was hoping to get some more, but instead I got several roosters. Okay, so that's one of the first things that I love about roosters is just how they look. Now, number 2, one of the things I like about roosters is the way they crow. Y'all, that is one of my favorite things. You can hatch babies because you're going to get some eggs fertilized, and how when it's feeding time, they act like gentlemen. It does not matter what I throw down, how yummy it is. If it's their favorite, I wouldn't even know it because they always let the girls eat first. Now, this has just been my experience with all the roosters I've had. Now, I can't speak for everybody else, but in general, all of my roosters have always let the girls eat first. And then when they're done, the roosters start eating. So they are total gentlemen when it comes to eating time. Now, let's talk about some of the things that I don't appreciate when it comes to roosters. Number 1 is the crowing. What? That's the same thing I just said that I loved. I do love it, but y'all, I don't love it all night long. And y'all, not everybody's roosters crow all night, but Rooster crowed about every 5 seconds all night long, every single night. I have been absolutely sleep deprived for a long time. That's because I moved all of the roos and chickens up near the house so that I wouldn't have to walk so far every single night in the dark with all of the creatures that live around here. The reason it's so loud is because they are right next to the house. Y'all, a few years ago, I had 2 flocks completely wiped out. And when that happened, I moved everything up. It used to all be in here. This was the perfect spot because they had protection from the rain, the snow, the sun, lots of dirt in there. They could dig all their dust baths. I didn't have to do anything for that. The only thing I had to put in there were some coops, and it was awesome. But I'll be honest, you can see this chain link fence. This is where they were housed for years before I ever had any problems with predators. And then once they found out my chickens were in here, it was all over. And honestly, they weren't even just coming over this fence. They were crawling up the back and going right under the roof at the top and coming down. So they didn't even take the obvious route, which anything can jump over these 4 to 5 foot fences, y'all, without even touching it. Coyotes, whatever. So this was not predator proof, and I didn't have the money to completely predator proof it, and I still don't, y'all, but I've moved everything up close to the house because I'm home all the time, and at least that way I can hear. Oh my gosh, y'all, sorry. Totally distracted because what is going on, Tiny? Tiny just flew at least 50 feet over the chicken area to right here in front of me and then just ran back again. Tiny, what is going on? Y'all, he is a character. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, what was I even saying? Okay, so I moved everything back up near the house. Well, now I've got Rubos crowing all night long because I've got the coyotes, the raccoons, the possums, cats, wild dogs, you name it. Everything comes around my property every night. They smell all these chickens around here, and I got cats and dogs and everything else. So there's all kind of animal scents around here. It draws other animals. And what's the rooster's job? To protect the ladies, y'all. So he's gonna crow every 5 seconds all night with all these critters around here everywhere. So that's keeping me up. And when I say every 5 seconds, y'all, that is not an exaggeration at all. He crows, he takes a breath, and he crows again. And honestly, I hate it for the girls because it's really, really loud. So that means all the girls are sleep deprived as well as the other roosters. So a good crow at 5 a.m., y'all, bring it on. Bring it on with my Nespresso and some organic half and half and organic whole milk in it. And I'm good to go, y'all. I don't mind getting up when the roosters crow, but not all night long. And I'm not kidding when I tell you that I just lay there night after night, absolutely wide awake, and then dog tired all day long. And you can hear some of them in the background crowing while I'm talking. So it's not just in the morning like they may show in the movies or on a TV show or something like that. It's whenever they good and well feel like it. All right, so what's one of the other things I don't like? The fact that they fertilize the girls' eggs. What? You're such a walking contradiction. You just said one of the things you liked was that they can fertilize the eggs so that you can get chicks. Well, I did say that, but y'all, there is a process that takes place when they're fertilizing these eggs. And let's just say it's not a walk in the park for these girls. It is a lot to handle. Now, when the roosters are juvies, it is a nightmare for the most part. Now, I know if some of y'all have roosters that aren't like that, or you're not out there when it's going on, you may be a little oblivious, or you may just say, hey, my rooster is totally calm and it's nothing like that. But when they're juvies and they're figuring out how to handle the hens in order to go through that whole visiting process to fertilize the eggs, y'all, it gets rough. And they will grab the hens by the head and kind of throw them around until the hens do what they want. They're standing on their backs. And y'all, I've had Rubos and Runner, who are like 25 pounds, standing on my Silky. What? My Silky, y'all. She's like a pound at the most. And I don't even think she's a pound, y'all. She is light as a feather. And I caught Runner the other day on her, and I about blew a gasket. Once they get a little bit older, y'all, sometimes they calm down, and the girls have figured out the process. So when they see them coming, they're laying down immediately to kind of keep things peaceful, if you will. But I'm gonna tell you that even so, if you've got a roo that's pretty big and they're constantly around the girls, your girls are gonna lose feathers on their backs. Y'all, I have been pretty devastated, even trying to let some of my hens out to free range to give their backs a break. They have still been losing all their feathers. And here we are in the wintertime. They don't have any feathers on their backs at all. And that's how they keep themselves warm. They kind of puff themselves up and they use all their feathers to help protect them. And when they've got those bare backs, they're losing a lot of that protection. And so I really have to make sure that the coops and the runs are well insulated so that those girls don't get too cold. Now, it's not every single hen. I've got some hens that have all their feathers. I've got some hens that have lost just a few, and then I've got some hens that have lost all of them, and their backs are completely pink. And I've said this in a previous video that I think the roosters are smart. They figure out by how many feathers these girls have on their backs, which ones are the easiest to visit with, and then they just kind of keep going back to the same ones over and over. So those girls have never been able to grow their feathers back in. And after they've free ranged a while, sometimes you'll start to see the little pricklies come back in where they're trying to grow some new feathers again. But y'all, it is bad news. When their backs are pink, those other chickens, when they see anything that's red or pink, they like to start pecking. And so sometimes they'll peck and peck and peck, and it really can cause injury to the other chickens. Then you've got to separate them, and it can become a whole deal. There are some people that say, well, hey, if you had enough chickens and hens, this wouldn't be happening. But that's not true, because Rooboss and Runner have had plenty of hens for the taking, okay? They really say that you should have about 10 hens per rooster, but even with that, that hasn't mattered. I still have some that have totally lost their feathers, but I know that something has to be done because I really want their feathers to grow back in. Plus, it protects them from all kinds of other elements. Oh, I forgot to mention when I said that, you know, they crow all the time and they crow when they hear predators and things like that. I did want to mention that there has been a case where Rooboss actually saved one of the girls. She was out front free ranging, a dog came onto the property, some kind of wild dog, y'all, crazy looking, that I've never seen before. And it was really small. It wasn't a fox, it wasn't a coyote. I don't even know what it was. Maybe it was a dog-oty. I don't know what it was. But anyway, he had bitten one of my girls. Rooboss came running out like the man that he is, who was running in circles like some circus clown with the dog chasing him, and he had some feathers missing. And then over to the left, I saw a whole pile of feathers. So I thought that she was going to be a goner, but she was actually in the bushes. She was okay. I doctored up her little bite marks that she had, and she was good to go. So they do protect within their ability as much as they can. But I would say the crow that they have is the biggest part of their protection, and they will kind of fight sometimes, but not all the time. And I've seen it here on my property. Sometimes they react and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they'll go after one like Rooboss did, and sometimes they just kind of watch to see what's going on and crow a little bit. So you can't really rely on a rooster to completely protect your flock, especially if you're not around. Now, I'm around when they make weird noises, and immediately I'm on it. I'm checking things out to see what's going on. Sometimes it's a hawk, sometimes it's a raccoon or whatever, and I go out and I scare it away. But if y'all are away from home and working a lot, or just not around, or they're farther away from the house, you really do need to make it absolutely predator proof, because there's so many different aerial, on the ground, things coming under the fence, whatever. So just keep an eye on the girls, even if you got a roo. Okay, so one of the other things that I don't like is how they will come after me at times. So especially if I'm talking to my camera and they hear me, they kind of think something weird's going on. It makes them a little uneasy. And so Rooboss has come after me a few times and kind of gotten to my leg. And if y'all have watched any of my videos, you probably know I got some health issues. I can't get scratches on my legs and things like that. So once that aggressive behavior started, I did not feel comfortable having my grandkids inside the runs or the chicken areas anymore, or getting help with collecting eggs, or Pops coming over and helping me clean out the coops and things like that. We always had to be on our guard. And actually, when I went in to feed them and water them and collect eggs and clean things out myself, I was carrying some kind of 2x4 or a T-post or some kind of, you know, weapon like a broom, just something so I can ward them off if something happens. But y'all, that is really not the way that I want to live. Chickens themselves are very peaceful creatures for the most part, although sometimes they go at it with each other. But that's just kind of how things go sometimes, and usually it'll calm itself down. It's not the same with a rooster. Sometimes I'll see the roosters go after the girls for no reason, like, hey, I'm the boss, and I just want to remind you, those girls could be doing absolutely nothing, and the roo will run over there and just grab their head and start pulling on them, and the girls are freaking out and they don't know what's going on, and I start yelling and grabbing my broom and waving it around like a crazy lady trying to stop it. Sometimes it works and sometimes I just look crazy. But anyway, so that's one thing I don't like, is that aggressive behavior towards anybody and towards the girls. And that brings me to one of my last points about this, is that I don't like the roosters' behavior towards each other. Now, they say that if roos have been brought up together since the time they were born, number one, that can make a huge difference as far as the aggressiveness. And I can attest to that, because Rooboss and Runner, as they got older, it was pretty peaceful. Occasionally they kind of jump up and do that whole, you know, rooster thing, like, you know, I'm bigger and badder than you kind of thing. But it's nothing like they're really trying to hurt each other. They're just establishing who's the boss. And I will tell you, I was surprised, because it changed every once in a while. It went from Rooboss to Runner, back to Rooboss, back to Runner. So who knows? I don't know all the science behind all of that, but I know that it changed because I could clearly see it in their behavior and who had the majority of the girls that they were rounding up. Checking out what's going on over there. Okay. But also, If you have roos that don't have access to the girls and they're just kind of in their own pen, that's also a pretty good answer for having a more peaceful environment. If there's no territory to fight over as far as the hens, there's really nothing to argue about, really, except for just an occasional squabble about whatever roosters would fight about. But if you just wanted to have a couple just because you think they're absolutely beautiful, you love that crow in the morning like I do, put them in a separate pen. I mean, if you want some eggs to be fertilized, then you could just take the roosters and put them in there with the girls for a little while. The girls will have to get used to it, but you know, that's just the way it is. If that's what you want to do, then you could take them out and put them in there and just not leave them in there all the time. But remember, roos are pretty social too, y'all. They like to have a job and they like to be around other roosters or other chickens sometimes. So I'm not sure that just having one that never has access to any other creature is a good thing. You know, roosters start displaying that rooster behavior even before they get the girls, y'all. I always see my baby roos pecking and talking like they're trying to show the girls where the food is, and they don't even have the girls yet. That's just what they do. So just be kind to your roosters if you decide to get some. Here's another thing I don't like. If you get roosters and you end up not liking this whole thing, which happens to a lot of people try out getting roosters, and there's nothing wrong with that. And y'all, everybody's situation is different. And maybe I should say this really quick. There are some more docile breeds, number one. If you get one rooster, that's going to eliminate a few things. If you get one rooster and have a lot of hens, that's going to eliminate some things. You might still want to keep an eye on the girls, but at least that's better than having a bunch of roos who are always visiting with the girls. But also, you can get a docile breed and it turns out to be a total wackadoo, y'all. Like, what in the world? I got this rooster because they said he was going to be the quiet, gentle type, and he's crazy. Well, that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, y'all. Sometimes genetics and other things play into it, but that doesn't make them all bad. So I don't want to sound like I'm giving roosters a bad rap. I love them actually, but I love them in a certain special way, in a certain environment that doesn't involve the girls. That's just me personally. I know some people don't care. They'll say, oh yeah, I got 6 hens and 8 roosters. And I'm like, what? My mind is blown when people say stuff like that. And I don't let them see it. I put on that poker face because I don't want to be offensive. But y'all, since they're not here right now, don't do it. I hope I didn't offend any of you guys. But no, y'all, do not have 8 hens and 6 roosters. And he was like, oh yeah, none of them have any feathers on their back. And I was like, okay, I quit. What in the world? So just know, even if you get, you know, a breed that all your friends have and you think it's going to be great, it could come out cuckoo or it could be great just like with your friends. Now, if you have a rooster and you don't want it anymore, this is the part that I really don't like. If you want to get rid of a rooster, it's a totally different ball game than having some hens that you need to adopt out. Like I took in some because the family couldn't care for them anymore. And so I adopted them and they're sweet little babies, you know? I mean, they're not babies, but you know what I'm saying. They're sweet girls. But when you get a rooster, you got to think about so many things. And that's especially if you're an animal lover. Now, if you're totally detached emotionally from animals, that's a totally different ball game. But if you care about creatures and how they're treated, you may not want to just go to the auction and dump it. There are still people that do cockfights and things that they shouldn't be doing. So if you can find a really nice home where someone just has some chickens and they want to try out having a rooster, maybe you could rehome them that way, or you could cook them. And I know that sounds crazy, but y'all, there's a lot of people that eat roosters, okay? I hear people say that, oh, roosters are horrible, they're too tough and things like that. There's a ton of people who go to auctions just to pick up roos so they can bring them home and cook them for dinner. So they say it's not a matter of the rooster's tough, it's a matter of how you cook it. So just remember, you may have to cook the roo a little bit longer to make sure it's really tender. So that is a difference, and especially if they're a lot older. I know some people swear that older roosters are no different than younger ones, but I think in general, roos and hens, the younger they are up to a certain age, they're pretty good when you cook them. After that, you just got to cook them a little bit longer, do a little bit more so that they're not as tough. The other option that some people do is just kind of end their lives as humanely as possible. So for an animal lover like myself, I like 0 of those options. If I have spoiled these guys since they were born, why would I want to give them to another family that may not treat them as well? I should not think that way, but I do. I'm just being honest. I want a very loving family to treat my roos really good. And the other options of eating them or ending their lives and things like that after you've raised them since the time they hatched, well, that's sad too. So I'm just saying that because if you're an animal lover, you may have to make that decision at some point. Now, having a farmstead or a homestead or just having chickens in general, you're gonna have to make some difficult decisions. You're gonna see animals get sick. You're gonna see problems. You're gonna see predators come around. So you just gotta be ready for all of that, whether you've got roos or hens. All right, so having said all of that, here is my big announcement. I got rid of all of my roos except for Tiny and Paddles, my 2 little bantam roosters. You talk about an emotional roller coaster for someone like me. Y'all know I've got cats and dogs. I've got a lot of chickens, and I had 13 roosters at one time, but I just got rid of all of them except for Paddles and Tiny. And I'm not even sure if I'm gonna keep Tiny. Y'all, I love him. He reminds me of a male version of Pigeon, but I can't tell if it's because he's friendly or he's gonna come after me. Of course, he's really tiny. That's why I named him Tiny. But he also pecks on the heads of all the girls. As soon as they get out of the coop, he's running over there and pecking them on the head, saying, "Good morning, you better do what I say today." And I don't like that kind of stuff. He needs to live and let live. And honestly, I don't know how it's gonna go once he starts visiting with the girls, because I've only got Paddle's female counterpart and Honeybell. And y'all, Honeybell flies all over the place like Pigeon. I am gonna try to train her to come to the window. I'm gonna do it. I almost went and got her today to do it. I love her. I came out today and I found her on the roof. She is flying all over the place. And Tiny does too. I told y'all he flew 50 feet over here while I was talking. But I can't tell if he really likes me or he's just aggressive. I don't know. I can't quite gauge him yet, but he's pretty young. So we'll kind of see how things go for a while. So I don't want Honeybell or Paddle's little female counterpart. She's the only one really that Tiny and Paddles could visit, because Honeybell's like, I'm out of here. I'm flying away. And Flopsy is the most gentle, little kind creature, and she is so submissive. And so I'm not even sure how it's going to go with Paddles and Tiny. And so I guess I'm bringing that up because even when you have tiny roosters, they can still have very large and in charge personalities like Tiny does. What I'm going for around here is downsizing so that I can have peace, okay? Peaceful downsizing. It wasn't necessarily just about the numbers of critters that I got around here, although I probably do have too many for just myself between the dogs and the cats and the chickens, but that's just how I kind of do things. But it's really downsizing to have peace. And I will tell you that the last 2 nights have been the quietest nights that I've had in a long time. Now, I do get woken up by cats frequently, because y'all, I've got cats that are nocturnal, which a lot of them are, and I've also got cats that sleep during the night like I do. But the ones that are nocturnal, they visit me one after the other. It's like they've been waiting all day to see me, and now they're all going to take turns, and so they will jump onto my stomach and wake me up, and I have to pet them for a while. I finally fall asleep, they get bored and jump off, and here comes the next one. And that's the way my life has been for years. So I have operated on minimal sleep, which is so unhealthy, for a very long time, but it was at least to where I could fall back into a deep sleep. But since I've had Rubos for the last few years, y'all, I have not been able to sleep. He has driven me bonkers. So it's been quiet. And y'all, I love the quiet. I love the quiet. So it has been hard for me emotionally because honestly, I was attached to every single rooster. And so I really had to just put my big girl pants on and say, you know what? I'm tired of not sleeping. And, Rubos and Runner too. Rubos and Runner, y'all are gorgeous. Just too rough on the girls. And although you've toned down over the years, it's still too much. And so it really just made sense for me to do a clean sweep, get it all done at once because it's so emotional for me. And so I've been working on that all week. I say I did it all at once, but it was really just, throughout the week, just working on that process and getting down to the last 2. And I cried a few times because I love them and they're so beautiful and I'm gonna miss their crow in a sense. But obviously I have Paddles and Tiny to make up for that, and their crows are not so tiny. Now they do not crow like this all day like the other ones, y'all. They're doing this because I'm out here talking, and they're just letting everybody know something's going on. That's just what they do. So I hope that this video enlightened you on some things to think about before you get roosters. And like I said, everybody's experience is different. I'm not an authority. All I know is what I've experienced for the last few years with my own roosters and my own hens and the breeds that I've had. So take it for what it's worth, and just know that if you go buy pullets at the store that are not sexed, like I've done a few times, you may end up with some roosters on your hands, and so you better think about, even if you don't want them, you may get them. So what are you gonna do? All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. I will see you real soon in the next video, and until then, y'all have a great couple of days. Bye-bye.